What is up, everybody? Welcome to Optimal Self Conversations, where we get to talk to incredible people who, through adversity, grit, persistence, are forging the path to being the best version of themselves. You get to join along, and they get to join us and give you the tools to do the absolute same. You are in for a treat. I met this guy, it's probably only been a few months now when we first met. I was honored to be able to speak at an event and hold a couple breakout sessions. Got to know him and his wife. You guys are in for it today, man. If you're a business owner, tune in, hang out, because this is the man to talk about branding. And his wife does the marketing. You guys are in for a treat. So, Travis Brady, welcome, my man.
Dude, I'm pumped to be on here, man, and hopefully I can deliver some good stuff for your listeners here today.
Yeah, bro. Well, let me tell you this. I was telling you pre-show, and I think everybody should know this. If they ever have a chance to jump on, I don't care what the event is. If these guys are holding it, whether it's in branding, whether it's in marketing, or whether it's just to hang out and learn, jump in. Your money is. I'll put it this way: if you don't get 10x the value, hit me up on social media and we'll talk about I'll refund it. That's how sure I am that
Yeah,
you're
I
valuing
appreciate that,
there,
man.
man. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
I super appreciate that. Yeah, it's been a long time, man. We've been doing these events for a long time, and so I told my team, our goal is to provide the best business experiences in the world. I don't know if we're there yet, and I don't know if we'll ever be there, but that's always the goal.
Well, I can tell you from my experience and all the people that I got to be around and hang out with during the event that there wasn't a single person there that wasn't super grateful for the fact that you guys are doing what you do. So we
Yeah.
appreciate you, man. So
Thanks, man.
cool.
And dude, to throw this right back at you, man, like that mastermind also is just people like you in the room. I mean, I can't tell you how many people came up to me is like, dude, I love Jeremy. And he's like, come to my breakout. And if you're not willing to change, then don't come. I'll go to someone else's. Like they just love the real rawness of it. I was like, yeah, that's what I've known him to be. And yeah, I just loved it. And I saw that too. It was awesome.
Cool, man. Cool. So this audience, again, I always say it this way, is that what we know to be true is when people see people that have success in their lives, and success is what anybody wants it to be, right? Your own definition. But you obviously have built a business, you've built a brand. But let's go, before we get too heavy into the business side of things and this in the great stuff that you have taught and offer. Tell us a little bit about you, man. Like, where did you grow up? What was that like? What has been that thing, the catalyst to drive you to be who you are?
Yeah, so I grew up in a city in Utah called West Valley City. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before.
Nope.
No, it's kind of the ghetto area of Utah. I mean, Utah's
Okay.
not really ghetto, but it's the ghettoer area of
Sure.
Utah. They tried to rebrand it years ago. They tried calling it Best Valley City, and it just never caught. Grew up there, just me and my brother, and my dad loves sports, and I can't remember, not playing some sport, whether it's hitting apples in the backyard, um, swinging a bat, playing basketball. So we just grew up, playing sports. I would say we grew up probably lower middle class. We never had to worry about food, but I remember when we were I was a sophomore in high school, we saved up for 3 years to go to Disney World, and we still had to put it on part of it on a credit card.
Yeah.
So humble experiences, but honestly, I don't think I would have it any other way. Like, I'm really at peace and appreciation for my childhood and everything that my mom and dad gave me. Sure, it wasn't perfect, but shit, what childhood, isn't perfect. And, I think that's where we both come in common too. We both played a lot of baseball. Did you play any other sports besides baseball?
Yeah, I grew up. I grew up playing football, and I was a wrestler.
Wrestler.
I loved wrestling because I was a small kid, And so in all the other sports, well, football up until high school, you get to play with your own size. But the thing about wrestling is I get to be with the kids that were my size, right? So, baseball was always, baseball was my love. And I think it was, I really believe the reason why I got where I got is just because I had to be technical. I didn't get away with shitty technique because I was so small. But so growing up, sport wise, wrestling was actually a better sport for me. And it's because I started very young. I think my first wrestling class was at like 10 years old. So, but it was fun because I get to play with kids my own size. So yeah.
That was one sport I wish I would have played. That's one sport I'll probably get my son into, wrestling. I think it's just a good all around, and it's good for a man, his confidence as well.
I mean, the hand to hand, the physical contact, and you're right. It's probably the most demanding. I don't, again, anything that I've ever done, it's by far the most demanding, sport there is, as far as these dudes grind. And especially at the highest levels, man, I can't even imagine. Like, I know what it was like for me. I can't even imagine what it was like, for as you get up into college and even, Olympic style, it's pretty amazing what those dudes can do.
Yeah. Crazy. So, yeah, just, love sports. And, my dream was to be like Deion Sanders. I'm going to play professional football and baseball. But I mean, what percentage of kids say they want to be a professional athlete?
Yeah.
Do you know the
Almost
stat?
any of them that play, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
For
I was
sure.
a stepdad for a little bit. I don't know if you knew this. I was engaged and she had 2 kids, and they called me dad, and the boy was about 9 years old. And I think he was like got in a few minutes playing basketball on the junior jazz team of what it was called. But yeah, you ask him, what do you want to be when you grow up? Professional basketball player.
Yeah.
And at no point in time did I ever say, nope, you're not good enough. You can't do it. I said, that's awesome, dude. You're going to have to work really hard. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves with adults. Don't ever tell someone they can't do something. You tell them, hey, you can't be a professional baseball player because of the sheer numbers. So what's the numbers? How many athletes per team? Isn't it like 30 or something?
It was 40. I mean, in baseball, you have a 40-man roster, but when you get to when the season starts, the active roster is 25 guys.
Yeah. So what's the math? You got 30 teams,
32 teams, 25 guys plus, in baseball you get the minor leagues, but football you don't have that. Football it's just 6.
So what? You have to be one of the best 800, 900 players to play Major League Baseball. So we say, hey, son, hey, daughter, that's not realistic. But hey, go be one of the best lawyers in the country. Go be one of the best doctors. Well, what do you think it's going to take to be one of the best doctors? Do you think you're going to have to be in the top 1,000?
Yeah.
Right. So, and obviously you're a walking example, of that. For me, once I got to high school, the love, and you talked about this on my podcast, you really have to love it because you're putting in so much work,
right,
to make it work. And I think by the time I got in high school, I was just kind of burned out on the whole thing, and I fell in love with the personal training. So that's where I went. I was like, man, if I can't play professional baseball, I at least want to be a part of the sport any way I can.
Yeah.
So I went all into personal training, became a strength and conditioning coach at the University of Utah, later moved to Westminster. And then over that period of time, realized that, the thing I actually love the most is helping people with their mindset. And so it evolved from personal training to the mindset. And then I had personal trainers and business owners coming my way asking me how I build a business. So I just naturally started to help them. And what I realized is that, the thing they struggled with the most was really owning their identity and who they were and portraying that to the world. And so that's what birthed branding. Branding is the identity of your business. So here we are 30 something years later.
It's such I want people to really, let's unpack this a little bit because that was a wonderful segue. And obviously, again, I'm going to tell the audience, like, you are a branding master. And I know, and you can tell that, I mean, again, you've done it for so many so many years. But one of the things that I say to all my clients is when I get them, because, coaching real estate professionals, coaching brokers, I don't get that call until shit's upside down, till shit's backwards. You know what I mean? Till they're like, all right, I need some help. No one that's, that's when it comes down to, and here's what I know, 99% of strategy problems are actually mindset problems. It's you. It's how I'm seeing things. It's what I'm doing. It's building. It's coming from me. The strategy is the strategy, right? So, and you just made a really good segue, and I think it's important for the audience to kind of walk down that path with you, because your journey is what makes you great. And so you recognized at some point, all right, sport isn't going to be the thing, the actual sport. So I'm going to get it into this. And then your level of awareness through was like, okay, I got to build my own brand. I got to build my own people, and you started doing that. The people around you start looking and go, oh, wow, how did you do that? Oh, okay. Let me start coaching. Let me start teaching this. And so you've now created your branding, your company out of one, and this is important, the things that you needed. And I think that that's a big misconception with the internet today and people online trying to sell you. I mean, I saw an ad not too long ago. Maybe it was just in my feed. And it was a 24-year-old kid trying to sell me like marriage advice. I'm like, what? And so what I want people to hear and see right in this moment with you is this isn't somebody that just came upon something and said, let me regurgitate a bunch of shit that I read in a book. It was out of necessity that you were building your companies and brands in those moments that now has allowed you to be able to say, okay, let's take a look at what I did and turn around and coach and teach and help people.
Yeah. I think what makes like someone like you so good, and if you look at some of the people that have been successful, it's not that, hey, I've been great, I'll be great. Do you want to be great too? It's like, no, they've been punched in the face, they've been kicked in the dick, they've had those dark moments. This month on my this week on my podcast, I'm talking about how transformation is contrast. At what point are you no longer a failure and you're successful? Like it's a gradient, right? Like it's 50 shades of gray to an extent, right? You're on that track. And so, we want to work with people that have experienced similar problems that we've been through, because we want to know at the end of the day, do you empathize with where I'm at? Have you experienced what I've experienced? Right. And they say we actually connect more through pain than we do pleasure. I don't know if you've ever heard that. Right.
100%.
Like,
100%.
you hate the Cowboys? Oh, I hate the Cowboys too. And now you're the best friends in the whole world, right? Or it's Biden or whoever else, So, we connect. And then if there's a pain and a pleasure, associated with it, there's a deeper connection. And so, when people talk about branding, it's not the superficial bullshit thing that we do to say something of how great we are. It's really to show us all the contrast, everything we've been through, who we really are, and how we can support them and help them in the world. And so at the core of every brand, there's a story, there's an experience that a person has been through. And so, as the saying go, facts would tell and stories sell. And dude, you have an amazing story. Like, I'm excited to see your demo video when it's all done. But just like you explaining, like when you were in Little League and your friend's dad didn't even select you to go on the all-star team. And you talk about that experience and you bring me in the moment of that. And I feel that, right? I feel what you're talking about. And that's what separates the people that do really, really good versus the people that struggle, is the ability to connect our emotions, rather than just our thoughts. So, dude, you're a good storyteller, man. Like,
Well, I appreciate that.
yeah.
And I think I think I love the point of, when we talk about a brand, people do, like, even if we just step for a second, right, is that we always find that thing that connects us, right, with them, right, and whatever that is. And so, the people that are listening now that are business owners and that want to bring that out, that the brand needs that story. And in our case, for you and I especially, like, this brand is it's my heart and soul. It is born out of everything, all the wins, all the losses, all the punches in the face. Like, this guy is marred, he is sweaty, he has bled for it, right? Like, literally, in a lot of cases. And this is what is showing up now. And just like you said, I'll be honest with you, I haven't been the best at telling the story, right? Because I'm always trying to put it on there. Like, even at your event, it's really hard to hear. And so I preface the start of every time I get introduced anywhere is like, because when you see the accolades of it, right? Okay, he was an all Pac-10 infielder. He played for the Reds. He played for the Diamondbacks. Oh my gosh, he been to the CrossFit Games. Holy shit. Oh, he won an event there. Oh, like, the last office went to $786 million in volume, right? It's like, you see all these things. And the truth is that you can heroify that person in all aspects. And I could sit back and go, woohoo, look at me. But I'm saying it, and I say this to people, and I said it to the people at your event, is that guy, the baseball player, the CrossFit guy, even just, a year and a half ago or 2 years ago when I stepped down from my position and sold my shares and all that, it's like, that guy's get his ass kicked in my life today. Like, he's not good enough.
Yeah.
Right. Like, if I rested on that shit, I would be nowhere. I would actually be going down fast. And that's not who I want to be. Right. And so you tell it very well, in helping people understand that it's okay to tell your story. It's actually beneficial because somebody out there needs to hear it.
Yeah. When I start helping people tell the story, they don't realize what I'm really helping them with is transform who they are. When you start sharing your story and you start opening up, you start looking at all the BS, right? Which BS isn't necessarily bullshit, but you start looking at all your belief systems as you start to share the story and you start to go, what am I really telling people through my story? If I were to multiply my message onto people, am I building other leaders? Am I building average people? Am I building victims? Am I building people that whine about, the external, right? And so when we start to really dive into our story, there's a growth that happens deep within inside of us. I know that's how it is for me. One thing my mentor used to always tell me is like, as soon as I teach you this, guys, I want you to immediately go out there and start teaching this to other people. And your first reaction is, dude, who am I? Right? It's that imposter syndrome, right? Everyone goes through it, right? I'm sure you went through it
every day still.
And I think, and I think to some level, you're always kind of going through it because in my mind, I'm like, guys, I'm not any better at it than you guys are. I'm not any better than you. Maybe I've gotten better at something. That doesn't make me a better person than you, And so, I almost want to call it the ultimate good guy syndrome. Right. And so, it's really cool. And, to start to share those stories with other people, because it's really what paints the picture. And if you think about, since the dawn of time, that's how we've passed on information. What do you think the Bible is? Right? Because God knew you wouldn't listen to a dictionary full of information, right? He needed to have some stories and some experiences to share. So I just believe everyone has a story that can transform the world.
Yeah, that's so well said, man. I love it. Because the good guy syndrome, that is something that I think a lot of people, and I really don't even like the imposter syndrome, because I think that there's a form of that for every human walking earth. Like, why me? Why would somebody listen to me? Why should they? Regardless of levels of success or not. And I heard Ed Milet say this about a month ago that I watched him speak, and he was saying that it doesn't matter if you were broke and made some money, you can help somebody. And he said, and it doesn't matter if you were broken and now you've got some healing, you can help somebody. So we get confused on who, what, and where. And he tells a story about his dad being an alcoholic, and how, the only person that could help him was somebody who was an alcoholic. Mm-hmm. So the thing that was destroying that other person ultimately saved his father's life. And it's the same thing you're saying now, is like, man, if we sit back in our own story and we don't share it, there's somebody out there that is going to benefit from it. The thing that has hurt us the most, the thing that we maybe are ashamed of, the thing that we don't want to talk about at times, is ultimately the thing that could save somebody else's life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest frustration that business owners have, and I'm sure you've had it, you sit down with someone, you talk about how amazing your program is, you talk about all the things that, you've put into it and everything, and then they leave the conversation without buying it. It's too much, not ready. What else do they use? Right.
Yeah.
And
gotta talk to my spouse or partner.
Yeah, I gotta talk to my spouse, right, or partner.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the people listening, you get the same thing.
Yep.
And as I talk to these business owners, they get so frustrated, right? As it is, it's not fun striking out. Dude, I hated striking out, bro. Like, I hated striking out. It was the most fucking embarrassing. Can I swear on your podcast?
Yeah, please.
It was the most embarrassing thing ever, dude, to walk back, especially when your girlfriend was there or a girl came to watch it. You're walking back to the bench, dude. I hated it. But that pain pushes you to be a better version of yourself, at times. So as much as we don't like that, it's also, something that we needed. But anyways, coming back to my point, so we're frustrated. And usually in those moments, it's just like we take on, and I used to take this on hardcore. The belief I would take on is, well, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And there's a couple of ways to approach it. Here's how some of the coaching world approaches this. Well, you're good enough. You've always been good enough. Right. And have you heard people say this? You're always good enough. And yes, like you're enough, but how you performed just wasn't enough.
It wasn't good enough.
It wasn't good enough. Right. And so
yes.
we kind of get caught up on one side of the fence when we really need to look at, no, you were not good enough in that moment. And usually we go, okay, I am good enough. And then we show up in front of the next person and I'm going to show them how confident I'm in. I'm going to show how great this program is. And we show them how great we are. And then the same thing happens. And then we're just like, what the fuck? Right. And in reality, it was never about you.
That's right.
It was about the person. They already thought you were enough. They already thought you were awesome. The reason why they didn't invest in the program is because they didn't think they were enough. They didn't think they were worth being invested to. They didn't think it was possible for them. They know it's possible for you because they see it. They look up to you. You're a role model to them. And so the best way to connect and bridge the gap is share a story of where you were at when, like, empathize with the situation that they're in and what you did to bridge the gap. And when you start to share those experiences and everything you went to and how it built into the programming today, now you start creating vision for your program. You start creating vision for that person to move. And so when we don't understand something or there's darkness, we don't move. When there's vision, there's light, we move. Yeah. Right. And so I just think that's a big thing that a lot of business owners get caught up in. And I love that you talk about that too. Like, dude, you're like, how you performed wasn't good enough. And I don't think we need to shame it or beat it up, but we just need to really look at the facts of the situation, because I think sometimes when we start to look at those facts, we do start to beat ourselves down. And it's not about beating ourselves down. It's about finding the point so we can kick ass, so we can beat it up next time.
100%. I mean, that is my, my message, my keynote when I was at your event was, you're not good enough. Like, people sitting in this crowd, it doesn't matter if you are a 6-figure business trying to get to 7, or if you're the 7-figure guy trying to get to that 5 or 6 million, or you're at the 5 or 6 and you're trying to get to 10, the 10 trying to get to 20, the 20 trying to, and so forth. It's like, just embrace it. The reason why your $1 million business isn't at 5 or 10 is because you're not good enough. That's a blessing. Because if you knew it all, if you didn't have somewhere to go, you die. It's over. There is no more, right? That's the moment where most people, you've heard it before, right? They're like, yeah, most people die at 78 years old, whatever the average is, right? They actually leave Earth at 78, but they actually died at 25.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that means 50 some years of their life, it was just hum, right? Like, you and I walk Earth today, and I'm throwing you in there with me. I say this all the time, but I've been with you now and got to spend a lot of awesome time with you. So that we walk Earth because I'm like, no, nobody I come in contact with is going to have that. I want you to have more. And I don't mean that by jets and Lambos and yachts and or anything like that, unless that's your thing. Ready, go for it, man. By all means, have it. But to be more for you and for you to get, your story is what needs to come. And if you're not succeeding, if your business isn't where you want, if your relationship isn't where you want, it doesn't matter what, if your body, right, your nutrition, your health isn't where you want it, it's not because you can't. It's because you're not good enough yet. You have to learn something new. That learn something new is now going to change a behavior. That change of behavior is ultimately going to take you to a better result. But the only way that starts is if you embrace the fact that, oh shit, I'm not good enough, ... yet.
Yep.
Nobody's saying you're never going to be good enough. And nobody's saying you're not enough. I think people get confused in that, right? Yeah. It's all the shaming.
And that's a good point. That's a good point to make.
I'm like, that's bullshit. Like, we're not shaming anybody. Like if you're overweight, you're overweight. Like, that's not body shaming. It's like, make better decisions in your nutrition and movement so that you're not overweight. Like, it's not that way. If you're bad at business, like if you're losing your business, it's like, okay, we got to make some changes.
I feel like we've developed this society that accepts mediocrity.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
Right. Like you hear this in baseball, everyone gets the, the participation trophy, right? You got people like that are fat as hell, saying that I love my body, and I accept my body. Is like, let's talk about love. Is love an idea or is love an action? Love's an action. What do you do if you love something? You take care of it, right? Case in point, you take care of it. Are you taking care of your body? Now, I could see you being overweight, you're eating right, you're going to the gym, you're getting sleep. Like, that's a whole different method. I don't think some of those people that are talking about, that are actually doing those things. So, and the reason why I bring this up is because, dude, that's almost awesome. Like, for me and you, because we're going to not get stuck in that mediocrity. We're going to take it to the next level, and we're going to take those people that want to go with it. And there's a separation, and it's happening in our social classes. There's becoming a bigger separation in our social class every single year. The poor are getting poorer, the rich are getting richer. And it's only going to get that separation is only getting bigger. And so you have to decide, what side of the occasion, which side of the fence you're going to be on at the end of the day. Right.
Well said. Yeah, that's such a great point.
And mediocre people, they hate being around high performing people.
Of course,
they hate it because they have to look at things they don't want to look at. Right? They have to look at pains. They got to make investments. They got to say it's not fun. And so that's why they say, you are the average of your 5 closest people around you. Right?
Yeah. If you want to be fitter, Get around 5 people fitter than you.
Dude,
You
and
wanna
I'm not
make
even
more
kidding.
money?
Like, I'm not even kidding. I'm gonna flex. Like, dude, you popped your 6-pack last time you were on your podcast, and dude, I'm not even kidding. I started eating better, bro. I was like, let's get this, baby. It's not quite what yours is, but dude, that inspired me, bro.
I
And
love it, dude.
so I want to thank you for
Oh,
inspiring me. And then it's just like, you know, we start talking about our workouts. Well, what do you do in your workouts? He's like, dude, I like to do this burner at the end. And I was like,
yeah,
dude, that sounds awesome. So I started doing
yeah,
those after my leg workouts.
yeah.
And it's something small, but you don't realize when you start to hang around people like this, you learn these little itty bitty small things day after day, day after day. And after 1 year, it might not be that far, but you add in years of it, it's a huge separation. It's a huge separation in where you're at in your life.
Dude, I love what you just said that little, because people people think that $1 million business is so far away. They think that a 6-pack is so far away. They think that, and the truth is it isn't these drastic, even it's not drastic overhauls. It's little tiny adjustments that done over time. That's the biggest key. The consistency to that action over time is going to bring you to that success, whatever that is for you, point that you want. You keep doing what you're doing, right? Nutrition is dialed in, sleep is dialed in. You just tweak a couple things in the gym because you're already going. Those little tweaks, and it's only a matter of time before you're shredded. It's inevitable. The answer is inevitable if your consistency, right? If you're consistent over time. And I think at your event, the Malinchek said this about Michael Jordan, about, they were saying he wasn't a good defender. So he got this defensive coach, and the guy literally when Jordan was going to defend, right? He was saying, "Oh, here's your problem. Your toe is pointed right at him." And so what that does is you can't open your hips fast enough. These guys are too fast and too good. So all I want you to do is, when you're approaching him, move your toe slightly out, 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch out, just that little adjustment. And the next year he's defensive player of the year. Mm-hmm. And what is that 1/4 adjustment? The people that are listening now, doesn't matter. And I say this all the time. It doesn't matter if it's in your relationship. You want a better relationship? Make that little adjustment. Tell that person you love them every day. Tell them, do something, write a little note and put it in her purse, right? As she goes off to work, whatever. Just little tiny things that are going to elevate everything. Find something that you're grateful for about that person in your life, man or woman, whatever. The same thing, business. What is that 1/4 adjustment? Fitness. What is that? What are those little tiny things that stacked on top of each other over time are going to do it? But you saw my shirt, one of my favorite shirts that I've ever made for Optimal Self. At the last day I wore it, it was his consistency is undefeated. Like, yeah. Okay, everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to. I mean, I don't care who you are. Like, you want a better life. I don't even care if you're at the greatest life. Like, even when I get guys that are billion-dollar operators, right? They want more. They're like, all right, I'm stuck, dude. How do I get there? It's like, well, what is the thing that we aren't being consistent at? Because consistency is undefeated, and I just love the way that you so many times articulated the factor of in the branding, that the thing that is your brand is your story, and you being able to articulate that story, just like you said. At the end of the day, people are going to be attracted to that. Mm-hmm. People are gonna flock to that flame. And you and I mean, this is my biggest thing, is because I always want to help everybody. And the truth is I'm not everybody's cup of tea, man. Like, yeah. It's but there's enough people that, as it filters out, hopefully there's some legacy there.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say though. And I'll probably say this to coaches like me and you. there's a lot of people out there that maybe right from the get-go, we might be our energy might be too much warrior for them. However, I had a client the other day, we're in our session 4 to 5 deep, and he says, Travis, I need to tell you something. He's like, when I first met you, you were a little tense for me. You're a little, you're, you're a little, loud. And, I followed you on social media, and, I went and prayed about it. Should I work with this guy? And I came in with all these doubts and everything. And I just felt I felt the spirit, kicking me like, you have to work with this guy. And I'm like, yep, that's what my spirit would probably do, is kick you. and he started to tear up a little bit, and it even got me tearing up. He's like, I can't thank you enough for everything that you've given me. This has been by far the best thing. And as he said that, part of me is like, man, I need to show those other parts of me. Maybe I do come off a little bit tough guyish, online and those things. So I think we should always be in a state of learning and listening. And, I tell people, even the haters, listen to what they have to say, listen to it. And I'm not saying they're right. What I'm saying is maybe you can learn something on how to approach the conversation better next time. So that way those haters don't start to get people behind them coming after you. So I think everyone can teach you something and it kind of comes back down to that thing. Like, you're not enough for the next level of results that you want in your life right now.
That's so true. And like it or not, people are going to judge you regardless. And
the better you are, people are going to judge you.
Higher, yep,
right?
Every level, man.
Like,
every level, it gets worse.
LeBron, I was thinking about LeBron James the other day, and, at first I was like, oh, I didn't think much of him. And then I started to like him, and then he went to Miami, and then he kind of wasn't really a fan of how he did that. Right. And he kind of became the villain of the NBA. And then he went back to Cleveland. And I started to kind of root for him again. They went for LA. And then I was like, nah, I'm off the LeBron. And some of the shit he says, I'm just like, fucking hell, dude. Yeah. But at the end of the day, he's not beating his wife. He's not cheating on his wife. You don't see him in the news for DUIs and stuff. Like, he gets a lot of shit thrown at him. People follow him just to talk shit, which is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, some of the best people in the world. And so that's just what you have to accept. You have to accept the fact that the more you are in the limelight, right, the more shit that you're going to get thrown at yourself. And I think the perfect example, not that I'm like super religious by any means, I'd consider myself spiritual, but you look at, Jesus's life, he was crucified. He was crucified for sharing love and kindness and all these different things. So what makes you think that you're not going to get shit thrown at you?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's I love the whole aspect of that. I think, I don't even remember who it was. And they said, you're not even scratching the surface of what you can do until you have haters.
Yeah.
Until somebody starts beating you up, then because you can't be all things to everybody. It's impossible.
Yeah. I almost feel like I need to get more hate on social media, man. Sometimes I feel like I try to articulate all my message so that way everyone's interpreting it the way I meant it. And I was thinking the other day, maybe I just need to be okay with people interpreting it not the way that I want. So that way it creates kind of this heated conversation. And then that way the comments drive the algorithm, which drives the post. And then I can explain it more in the post, And so
that's hilarious.
It really is like, it almost is like the fear gets more attention. They noticed this back in, I think, the 1940s, when they put out a newspaper that had more fear and hate, it sold 90% more. Totally. And so over time, they just got to the point where, hey, we're just going to put that out there because we know that it's going to get more attention. Now, I'm not saying put out hateful, fearful things, but what I'm saying is sometimes you have to be okay with the fact that everyone's not going to agree. And I think Russell Brunson said this: if you haven't annoyed or upset someone in your marketing by noon, then are you really marketing?
Yeah, man. Again, you can't get past it, right? Like, especially the higher up your ranks. And I always, I mean, mine was baseball, man. And I can tell you, every level, those road games got even rougher. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I remember you explaining
like,
this.
like I mean, there's, you get to Philly, man, and they're throwing like batteries at you. Like, they're really trying to hurt you. like they weren't, that you weren't there to, they didn't give a shit. But it's the same thing. And now the problem we have today, I believe, with the online generation, is that there's just too many keyboard warriors, right? That really aren't doing anything but hating on other people. It's like, hey man, listen, here's what I do, here's who I am, here's my goals, and like, I get that you're not going to resonate with that. Like, to be honest, that never has bothered me. I think that comes back from baseball. I mean, you fail at 7 out of 10 times and you're an all-star. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to come to grips. There's nobody that plays that game that doesn't strike out, that doesn't make an error, that, like, nobody. The best of the best of the best of the best. I saw some guy online just the other day talking shit about Mike Trout, about, how he's not clutch and he shouldn't be this and he's not. I'm like, you're talking about one of the greatest pure athlete, baseball, run, jump, hit, average power, like, and you got this dude that's just like, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna be real transparent. When I see those, I have to look at the person, right?
Dude.
And then you go see this dude's picture, and I'm like, this guy is talking shit about this dude? Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
Like,
it's hilarious. And
it's ridiculous.
yeah. And I would tell everyone listening right now, if you're worried about a hater or a troll, take a little bit of time and go look at some of their profiles. And 98% of the time,
Yep.
they don't have any photos of themselves. They're not putting themselves out there, like, because they're afraid that people are going to do to them what they do to other people, right?
Right.
Which is talk shit. There was this meme the other day. It was showing the Miss USA pageant or something, and there's this fat guy eating chips on his couch, and he was saying, "Yeah, her nose is too big." It's just, dude, that's society. It's a judgmental society. I mean, think
Yeah.
about how easy it is for everyone to share an opinion about anything from the
Yeah.
safety of, their home, right? Hence the word keyboard warrior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for you now, right? What is your ultimate, like, so now you're building obviously your brand. I mean, what you and Miki have done is just again, I can't understate it, man. Like, it's incredible. Like, the lives that you're changing, the people that you put into rooms. What is that next step for you, right? Who is the next version of Travis Brady? What does that guy look like?
I was texting my team after last week, and I was just being super vulnerable and raw, with everything. And I basically told them, you guys deserve a better leader, and I'm gonna give that to you. I'm gonna be I feel like the next version of myself is just around the corner. And so, it's peeling back the layers of the onion. And I think one of my biggest epiphanies from the event too was, I need to see more of the value of my team. Not that I don't value them, but it just needs to go to the next level. So I think the next level of me as a leader is just continuing. We spend all this time looking at our value and looking at what makes us great and confidence. And I was like, I need to spend that same amount of effort and energy into each one of my team members, showing them their gifts and what makes them awesome and what makes them amazing. And that's what our big expo next year called Brand X is. That's what it's going to be about. Brand X is going to be about highlighting people in the industry that are making a difference and highlighting you and helping you see the best part of yourself so you can deliver that to the world. So, and to be honest with you, I don't know either. Like, I don't know what that next version of me is, or what that is. I'm still in self exploration of that.
I love it. Well, you said it, and so let's simplify it, right? Because that's how we get there. We get there by simplification. We can't overcomplicate this, right? Where it's got to be all these things. It's just one single thing. You said
Right.
it. You said, look, the next version of me is a better leader because that guy. And again, let's be clear. You got to lead yourself before you can lead others. You should lead yourself, lead others, and lead always. That guy, the always is what we always have to be. Meaning, you're that guy all the time. And I know this because now you have a little son, which you talked a lot about there, and you could, I mean, when you talk about him, just the way that you light up, man, is it. I know that feeling having kids, so it's like it's incredible to see, and that vulnerability in you is also what makes you great. Because, but listen, but you just said it, the next version of me, because the better leader will be he'll be a better leader for myself, right? You're already doing it. You said, hey, Jeremy, you gave me this little thing. I implemented it. I'm already on a better journey fitness wise. Like, here we go. That's being a better leader because you're leading you. The next level is being a better leader so I can be a better dad, so I can be a better husband, and then be a better leader to the team. Like, that's the evolution, right? And you're on that. It's beautiful, man. Like, it doesn't have to be more complicated than that. It's really the simplification is what allows that to happen. So, man, and I'm here to say I watched you on your event. I saw you on that stage. I saw how the people responded to you, team wise, people in the audience, all of it. So the fact of the leader that you are, which I'm inspired by, and the fact to think even for myself that, man, that dude's going to be an even better leader because he's going to focus on it and he's going to look for those angles. Dude, man, the world is, I'm just grateful to have you in my life now, man. Like, that's a super cool thing, bro.
Yeah, ditto. And one thing you said earlier that I really want to highlight is you talked about leading yourself. And one thing that I really talk about with our team is, the best followers are the best leaders. We looked at, you look at Jesus Christ. Who was he following? He was following God, right? He was a great leader because he was the best follower. And you think about, who do you promote on your team? Well, you promote the people on your team who follow what you're talking about the best, right? And so I think it's going back to some of those core things and going, where have I dropped some of the things I haven't been following? And
Sure.
usually it comes back to what you're saying, the simple things. And so for me, one of those things was nutrition, right? I moved to Arizona and it's hot as shit down here. And so all of a sudden popsicles sound really good all the time. And so now I'm eating like 2 or 3 popsicles every day. And I'm like, fat boy, you don't need another popsicle, right? And so, going back to those core things, um, is I think what we should all be doing. And with my clients, the very first call when we start working together, we're not talking about your brand, we're not talking about your story, we're not talking about your marketing strategy, we're not talking about your branded sales process. All those are important. We're talking about the thing that is most correlated with your success. What is that thing? And I consider that your power promise. And so, what's the thing at the core level that you notice when you're doing everything else lines up? And then what's the thing that when you don't do, everything else doesn't line up? And so, if you've lived long enough, upper 20s, 30s, you should be able to identify what are those core habits that contribute most to your success. And for me, it's drinking half my body weight in ounces of water, and it's praying daily. And dude, I can't even explain it to you. Like it does. I mean, I can probably explain the science of it, but it's too weird that when I'm drinking water and praying, just everything else lines up my life. And when I'm not doing those things, things don't line up in my life. And so whenever I feel like things are going off, I come back to those power promises.
Dude, that's so spot on. When we got to the event, and one of the first, I tell everybody this so the audience could hear this, is that the thing that hooked me in from a moment, because I had never been. You and I had several conversations. We did a podcast together, right? I had a great conversation. We had a great conversation. Had a great conversation with Miki. So I was excited to be there. And you prefaced the whole event. So you did your opening and all that, what's going to take place, and you kind of get everybody. And then you said, here's how you can get the most out of the event. I don't want you to come here and not get the most out of the event. So I'm going to give you a couple things is how you get the most out of the event. And the very first thing you said, and the people that watch, that know me, Optimal Self, are principle one. We have 6 principles. Principle one is hydration. I mean, and the first thing you said was, you got to be drinking water all day, every day. Do not let yourself, don't try to get in on the coffee, like occasionally grab it, whatever, but you've got to be killing water all day, every day, because these are long days. There's a lot going on. Your body, you're going to hear stuff. You're going to be, and right then I was like, oh my God, I was so pumped. I looked at Lit. I was just like, this is incredible. I was like, dude, if I didn't love him then, I freaking love him now, because I can't tell you. Listen, I've worked with everybody from a brand new agent all the way up to, $100 million producers, all the way up to $250 million operators in multifamily. And the first, we get through it, and then we go, and the very first thing they get from me is our module on hydration. And I have a hydration cocktail, which has lemon and Himalayan sea salt, people. And I go and I literally have the reason why lemon, you should put it in there. The very first thing in the morning, why you should have Himalayan sea salt in there. Mm-hmm. And I go through it. But when you open your event and you're like, here's how you can get the most. First and foremost, you got to be drinking water every day, because it's good. And people don't understand this, mm-hmm. that it's what our brain functions on. It's cognitive function, right? It's electrodes in there. And anybody ever thrown water on electricity? It's like, right? So imagine when that's all sucked out because I'm dehydrated, right? Because again, that's the first place it takes it from. It takes it from our skin. It takes it from our brain. And because your body is always trying to save the organs first. So when you get dehydrated, it starts to, you die from your extremities in. That's why people lose, when they have frostbite or gangrene, it starts at the tip. Mm-hmm. That's what comes first. And you die from the extremity in, because your body starts to protect itself. Hydration is no different. Your body's going to take any water or anything that it has to keep the organs hydrated so that you stay alive.
Yep.
You can't be great up here, which this is the control center.
Yep. My grandma Brady is probably on her last days, and every time I call her, I've been calling her a lot lately, and every time I end the conversation, Grandma, are you drinking water? That's all I want. That's all I want to do. And then I call my grandpa up. Hi, Grandpa. Is Grandma drinking water? And then I'm sitting there, brainstorming, ways of how they can drink water. Some of the other family members have been kind of bossy with them, telling them what they should and shouldn't do over their life. And I was like, I love you guys. The only thing I'll ever tell you to do is drink more water.
Oh, man. I love it. I love it. Well, dude, again, I can't thank you enough. I want to, we have a little portion at the end I call quick hitters, everybody who comes on the show, because I have a compilation of them, and it's really beautiful. So I'm just going to give you a word and define it, what it means to you, and how you're going to, and how it affects you the most. All right. The first word we start with is discipline. What does that mean to you?
Discipline, I would put in the same word as commitment. And how I define that is doing what you said you would do, even though the moment you said it in no longer exists.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That's so beautiful. Don't even go any further. That's so perfect. And the final word is impact.
Impacts. When I think of impact, you know, I think of the word that comes to me is influence. You know, we talked about this at the events. You know, influence isn't, you know, how do people think about me? How do people feel about me? It's how do people think and feel about themselves when they're around me? What is that influential impact that I had in their life? Did they feel like they can go out and create a business? Did they feel like they can go to the next level of their business or whatever else it is?
Dude, spot. Love it. I love it, man. Well, I just want to say thank you again. I know that the people listening and even myself are better for it, man. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for bringing everything that you bring into the world, man. It's incredible, and I can't wait to touch more people with it, man. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Shout out to you too, dude. You do a great job running the podcast. Sometime I've jumped on some podcasts and you can tell they've never done a podcast. Have you ever been on those? It's just
Oh yeah.
it's just a little choppy,
Oh
you
yeah.
know. And
Yeah,
so
for
then I
sure.
start taking charge and I start asking them questions, getting them to talk.
Yeah.
So you do a great job, man. Great.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it,
Great,
man. I appreciate
great
it.
host.
So awesome. So until next time, get your ass out there and be the best version of you.